Ladies and gentlemen, look at the screen right here. We have a descending channel formation on Bitcoin that's been forming for 5.5, going on 6 months very soon. But we also have on the weekly chart a very important structure on the RSI that not many people are looking at, right? It is a descending wedge formation. If you look at this descending wedge formation, you will notice that the resistance and support are compressing against each other and reaching an apex point, meaning they're reaching a point through which we need to see a breakout of the structure around the 1st, or I should say the 30th of September, meaning that within the next 2 weeks, okay, potentially even today, just before this weekly candle close in 16 hours, we will be seeing either a break to the upside or to the downside of that weekly chart descending wedge formation. I'm going to discuss the implications of that today, and I need to inform you of it because, of course, the weekly candle is in 16 hours. If we do see that close above that wedge, that would be great news. But we're also going to dive into a bit more interesting stuff, a bit more unique stuff that I haven't discussed really too much before. That is the progression within the wedge. For example, we've moved upwards, we've bounced from the bottom of the wedge. We've got some interesting stuff going on in the MACD, the RSI, and the daily chart, the bull market support band. We also have interesting things going on Ethereum, on the S&P 500, and also the DXY, which is on major support, stemming backwards now from 2015. Very interesting stuff there, and there's a lot of implications with that. So we'll get into all of that today. Guys, I just want to remind you before we get into it, we have FOMC in just 3 days and 10 hours, and that will give us a massive amount of macro clarity. So mark that into your calendars. It's going to be a very big day when that occurs. Before we get into it today, guys, check out the Bitcoin and BingX exchanges. The 2 exchanges I advertise on this YouTube channel, I chose to advertise them on my own accord. I was actually using these exchanges personally for a while. I reached out to them for partnership. They gave me partnership, and they're offering you guys a 15% trading fee discount with my referral link, okay? A permanent 15% trading fee discount that's linked to your account forever on every single buy and sell you make. They are both global non-KYC. They've both never been hacked before. They're very good exchanges, so check them out with my links down below and take your pick. You can pick either one. Again, they're global non-KYC. Let's get into it. I'm going to start with the boring stuff here. And the reason I say it's boring isn't because it's not important. I mean, this is very interesting for someone who hasn't heard it before, but a lot of people have, right, on this channel, because I spoke about it quite a lot. But I need to discuss it 16 hours out. So we have, of course, on Bitcoin, as I mentioned in the introduction, this channel formation, which is the overarching structure. But what we do know is that the weekly RSI can front run overarching structures. So if we look back in Bitcoin's price history and we identify where there have been weekly chart RSI patterns or formations, we're marking out a few of them right now on the screen in yellow. These are resistance lines that have been very important for Bitcoin in the weekly chart RSI in the past. What you'll notice is that when we break those lines on the RSI, it leads to major moves in the price chart as well, right? So we broke that line on the RSI here around the COVID drop. It led to a bull market. We broke this one here. It led to the end of the bear market. We broke this one here. It led to the end of a 7-month consolidation and the start of a move that ultimately entailed the ETF acceptance and also the all-time high at 73K. So we know for a fact, and it's not just resistance, it's support as well. We know for a fact that the weekly chart RSI is very important at front-running price structural moves. And so when we look at this wedge formation in the weekly chart RSI, what we see is something that could front-run the structural move, right? If we see a breakout of the wedge to the upside, it could front-run the breakout of the channel to the upside. If we see it to the downside, it could front-run the break of the channel to the downside. Right, we know the critical levels Bitcoin needs to hold are basically the channel itself and also a few of these yellow lines, right? You can pause the video and take a look at those. I'm not going to go too deep into those today because it's not too relevant. Bitcoin's actually moving upwards right now, so we don't really need to discuss macro support. But ultimately, of course, we need to maintain that structure, that wedge structure, or that channel structure, sorry. And 16 hours now until the weekly candle close. And what this means is that Bitcoin has an opportunity to move a little bit more to the upside, right? And hence break above this wedge on the RSI. And if it did that, it would also break above the center line of resistance in the price chart of the channel, which is pinning us down right now. And it would lead to a much higher probability with a momentum shift in the market to the upside of Bitcoin breaching the entire channel and continuing the bull market to all-time highs. So a lot is actually riding on this weekly candle. If we close this weekly candle above this wedge formation, that will be a great sign for Bitcoin, and we will find out the result of that in 16 hours. Very big stuff, and I can't emphasize it enough. But for the sake of your sanity, if you've listened to this channel in the last few weeks, I've emphasized it plenty, so I'm going to stop there. But I will discuss the result of that close tomorrow. Fingers crossed that we close above that weekly chart resistance. Now, what you'll notice is the weekly chart resistance level on the RSI, the top of the channel formation, it's not just an isolated thing. It's in connection with all the other charts. If we look at Bitcoin's price chart right now, what we see is that Bitcoin is very, very clearly at strong resistance from the center line of the channel formation. Now, this is a more fleshed out Bitcoin chart, a more fleshed out daily chart. You'll see the center line of the channel being that white dashed line. If I'm circling a few occasions, you can see it acting as resistance and support multiple times, right? So a very important level over time for the formation of this channel, and the fact that we're going up to it and testing it for resistance right now at the same time as we're testing the wedge for resistance indicates that those levels are connected. And so for Bitcoin to break the wedge on the RSI, it's likely we'd actually need to break the center line as well. And that center line is not easy to break, right? It's not an easy thing to break, because if we look at the bull market support band, we can see it's overlaid right on top of the center line, and hence it's bolstering that level for resistance, okay? So fingers crossed we break it, but it's not an easy feat, right? If we look at the short-term charts, we do have an opportunity here. And this is why the weekly candle is so important as well. We have 16 hours into the weekly candle, right? We broke a ascending wedge to the upside, which is a surprise, okay? But we did do that. And now we're forming a new bullish pennant formation, okay? And that bullish pennant formation on the hourly chart is likely to break either up or down, right? Could break down, could break up, but it's likely to do that within 16 hours. So within 16 hours, before the weekly candle close, we could move above this pennant formation, breach the center line, and hence breach the weekly chart RSI wedge, and hence breach the bull market support band and close the weekly candle above over all those levels. And that would be an exceptionally bullish scenario. So we do have an opportunity here. Bitcoin is on the cusp of breaching upwards. It just needs that final literal push, and I hope we see it. Ethereum, similar story, not quite at the cusp of breaching anything too major. There is some vague resistance in this region that I've just circled, but we have managed to bounce off of its own weekly chart RSI descending wedge formation, which is good to see. Haven't quite got up to the breakout point yet there. So I don't think it's really on the cards for Ethereum, but it certainly is on the cards for Bitcoin, or certainly on the table for Bitcoin. We could see that scenario. S&P 500 is seeing, again, just like Bitcoin right now, another opportunity, right? So it formed its first lower high, which is very concerning. Luckily, it maintained a higher low. So now it's got another opportunity to breach above and continue the upwards trend. This is the chance, right? If we don't do it here, what's going to happen? We're going to breach downwards again, right? And then break the higher low, and then enter a lower low, and then enter established downwards trend on the S&P 500. We don't really have many other choices. Like, this is the time we need to break upwards for the S&P. And that's reflected in the fact that the FOMC meeting is in 3 days. You know, this meeting in 3 days will do a lot to determine whether this move, this attempt, will succeed or fail, right? That's huge stuff, and we'll discuss that more in the coming days. But the last thing I wanted to mention is the DXY, right? Ultimately, all assets, all risk-on assets, including Bitcoin, including the S&P 500, are reverse correlated to the DXY. The DXY goes down, assets go up. If the DXY goes up, assets go down. We can identify this just by looking at the last couple of cycles. You know, 2017, this was Bitcoin's bull market right here. This was Bitcoin's bear market. This was Bitcoin's bull market. This was Bitcoin's bear market. When this goes down, Bitcoin goes up. When this goes up, Bitcoin goes down. Very well established. And so we have this DXY on major support right now, which is a concern because it means that it could bounce. And if it bounces, Bitcoin goes down, assets go down. We see recessions, we see bear markets, right? So we really want to see the DXY actually breaking down completely. And until the DXY breaks down completely and crumbles, we won't really have 100% clarity on markets, right? This is a chart. You can cut through all the BS and just look at this chart and see if it's on support and realize that that is a threat. Until we break down from that support zone, the macro confirmation's not there. So let's be very clear. When the weekly chart RSI breaks to the upside, or if the weekly chart breaks to the upside, I should say, that is not an instant buy signal. Okay, it's an indication the market is flipping bullish again. The buy signal comes when the macro structure breaks to the upside as a whole and the DXY breaks down. That's when the buy signal comes, because that would entail the macro economy is looking good again and Bitcoin is out of its macro range. This is just an indication. Now, some people with high risk tolerance could buy on the break here. If you're just, if you've got a high risk tolerance, you don't mind taking a risk, you could do so. There certainly is some degree of confirmation there, but it's not the whole, the whole table. It's not the whole 9 yards, right? It's just a little bit, right? It certainly does bolster the probabilities, but it's not everything you need to see. It's a step in the right direction, a very big step, but not the full leap. So that's where I'm sitting on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency right now. 16 hours until the weekly candle close. I'll keep you updated when that close occurs. That's all I've got to say, guys. I appreciate you guys watching the video. Thank you. Leave a subscribe, of course, because you need to see the future content. And then like and comments are appreciated as well. But check out those links. The Bitunix exchange and the BingX exchange. Global non-KYC. 15% trading fee discount with my referral links down below. Go and check it out, guys. Very good exchanges there. I'll also mention, as I was going to say before, the Crypto Academy, Become a Trader 10-unit course. It's on sale right now as well. If you want to learn how to trade, you want trading education, education on TA, that's where you can get it. All the information is on the website, and you can read out information on the website with the link down below, including our email address, which is there. So throw us an email, inquire about the course, ask us questions there, and we'll send you all the information. Second last thing I'll mention is the VIP group on Telegram. I trade altcoins 4 times a week on VIP. I post my altcoin trading signals. You guys receive them. You watch the videos. You copy me if you want to. Or, you use them however you want. And you get access to a group chat as well. My trading signals on VIP have a 78% win rate over the course of 2 years of trading results. So very extensive results. 78% win rate. Very good stuff. Check that out if you're interested. And the last and final thing I'll mention is my second channel, JS Quinn. I will be posting a podcast on free will on this channel tonight, right? Within probably 12 hours of this video, I'll be posting a podcast there. So if you're interested in seeing that podcast, check out that channel, JS Quinn. Thanks guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.